Assalamu alaikum wa barakatuh. Good to see you back again, back again, and we're here to win. Okay, we'll be getting started here in just a moment. Before we go into everything, just a reminder: go ahead and subscribe to the page. Go ahead and give this a like, right? And if you find value, definitely go ahead and what you want to do is definitely subscribe. Right? We have different tiers that you can get into today. So hopefully you're hearing me okay and everything is sounding good. Sounding good. What is it that we're talking about today? What we're getting into? Well, we're talking about this concept around ancient medicine, right? The the concept of it, because reason why am I calling it ancient medicine is because this is something um, that naturopathy has founded itself on. So when we look at naturopathic medicine, this is all of the combined years and years and years of different various types of ancient medicine techniques. Welcome to everybody who's joining us. So we're going to be covering this in four layers because we're going to talk about how the four humors go into this. We're going to talk about how cupping has to do with this. We're going to even talk about what Ibn Sina brought about and talked about, which was the flowing spirit of Numa. And then, of course, we'll talk about spices and spice factors, things that bring healing to our body. And when we think about spices today that we add in food, well, a lot of this actually has to do with the ancient techniques of how they were used as medicine, and the taste became good, and then a lot of people kept with it. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Dr. Scott here, Nature's First Path. Good to be with all of you. Good to see you. So let's talk about balancing the four humors. This is a part of ancient medicine, right? And a lot of the Greek and ancient Egyptians, right, knew about this and talked about it. So we're talking about balancing all of the different areas, okay, of the black bile, the yellow bile, right, and then the cold, the wet, and the dry. So basically, this is how the body was seen and viewed as a state of being, always flowing between the humors, right? The anger, the emotions, the wetness, the dryness, all of these things come into play when we think about what they are. So when any of the humors are blocked, right, this is when people get into trouble, right? This is when issues happen, more or less. So the healers at that time knew that these humors had to be balanced. Okay. Unani treatments went down real deep and worked with it. And they used these concepts called the tayyibat, meaning the vital good air, right? The hawinat, the mental, the way we think, and the nafsaniyat, okay? And that was a platform for healing for a lifetime. They worked with it. So it was part psychology, part nutrition, part moving the body, and part rest. And this is how the humors got balanced, more or less. Right? This is how the humors got balanced. Then you want to talk actually about cupping, hijama, right? And this was a technique allowed to bloodlet somebody out, especially in men after 50, because we retain a lot of the excess blood. And with a lot of the excess blood comes a lot of iron and iron toxicity. So with the hijama, that was a way of cupping to let the blood out, right? Let that blood flow through blade cutting. And so it was known as vivisection, right? Just kind of surface level cutting, healing. Okay, so this would remove excess iron, excess toxins, right? Heat, inflammation, uh, and then they would be prescribed certain herbs and medicines because then that also would kind of replenish, right, any vital life force that was lost. So we talked about the humors, then we talked about the cupping, letting some of the blood flow. So those are two areas that we'll get into. But then there's another element to this ancient medicine, this ancient healing, and that's which is known as the flowing spirit or pneuma. So at one time, the healers and practitioners considered the spirit world and the holistic world together, that they were not separate. Now, in terms of a concept, the pneuma or vital air, that's the air and the proper flow of all things, especially in your body, right? So the proper air and the flow of all things. Now, when we understand this correctly in terms of nutrition, okay, well, the quality of food and the herbs that we eat affects the vital flow of our life, so to speak, if we're able to connect that. So the point was to have good soil, then good plants, good herbage, right? Good vegetables, then that translates into good vital air in the body, okay? Vital life force. So in other words, you get you get out what you put in, right? You get out what you put in. But it doesn't stop there. All of those good things that we eat, we have to do something with it. We have to transform it and bring out the light from it. And that's usually done through exercise. Okay? So it's a cycle. Good, healthy earth, good, healthy food opens the flowing spirit, getting the exercise going. You're repeating that cycle again and again and again. And what that flowing spirit is about is pushing yourself against gravity, right? Pushing yourself against gravity and going strong for it. And then there are the spice factors, right? Spices have a big, big role and part to play for this. So spices really activate how bioavailable something is in our body, meaning are we able to synthesize or get all of the nutrients from our food? So spices actually activates that. Okay. A very big activator in ancient medicine was cayenne pepper. Okay. Peppermint. Okay. That was used to control, nausea, standing imbalances, focus, things like that. With the cayenne pepper, that was done to boost metabolism, kind of open the arteries. Okay, foodborne illnesses and pathogens, kind of nipping those in the bud. Okay, and then even things like rosemary and oregano for brain function, and at the same time to fight off infections. So these things are relevant because we're still having these issues today: low vitality, brain issues, improper flow of energy and spirit. So this is why we're talking about ancient medicine, but it's actually new and current, right? When we put all of these things together, basically, this is how life force moves. And what was understood in those times can relate to us today. Okay? So, from balancing the four humors to releasing destructive blood to understanding vital air, and then how the soil and the spices work with all of that. This is kind of a key. Okay? And it can really impact our human experience. So there are many, many other parts to quote unquote ancient medicine, but I wanted to talk about these four aspects because it's so critical. And we can use these techniques today, and this is something that is used in the Nature's First Path practice. So, okay, I'll put the link to the post. You can read it, and if it resonates with you, go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead, right, and become a member, and then we'll go from there. We'll go from there. It's super critical, super important that we employ those techniques from back then all the way up until now, right? Let's enjoy, and we'll get it together soon. So, Dr. Scott here in Nature's First Path. Don't hesitate. Let's connect, and we'll go from there. Talk to you soon.